Kelley is joining us from TSYS. TSYS is the largest issuer processor in America, as well as a number of other countries. TSYS serves banks, Fintechs, as well as retail issuers. They process over 32 billion transactions in 100 countries, very impressive. And lastly, Paul is joining us from AWS. I think all of you know AWS very well. They're a leading cloud provider in financial services, offering over 200 different services to millions of clients. So I'll start out by asking Kelley briefly to introduce himself and share with us how you've leveraged partnerships with AWS and Featurespace on TSYS' journey to the cloud.
Great, thanks. It's great to be with you today. And as Carolyn said, I think in our ecosystem today, it really is all about partnerships. We're fortunate in this case to have partnered with AWS, which is the largest, biggest, and probably most robust cloud services for the financial services industry. They give us speed to market, they give us scale, and they give us new geographic expansion opportunities. So we're lucky to have them as a partner, and we'll lean on them quite heavily as we go forward. From a Featurespace point of view, as Carolyn mentioned, a leader in risk and fraud solutions. For us, we not only like that we've been able to collaborate incredibly well, but we love what they've done with Gen AI and how that real-time modeling updates benefit our customers and our clients. We also like their geographic reach to bring in new insights and capabilities from a number of markets that allow us to cater our services along with them in markets we want to be successful.
Paul, I'll have you introduce yourself, and maybe you can share with us trends, cloud-related trends you're seeing in financial services and how AWS enables those journeys.
Thank you, Caroline. My name is Paul Chang. I'm head of the card payment networks here at AWS. Really glad to be here and talk about how TSYS, Featurespace, and AWS are partnering together to enhance the customer experience, but also really innovate and pioneer the future of payments, right? Some of the cloud trends that we're seeing in general is the first is our customers want to get time to value in terms of driving their value-added services and market expansion. The second part is really the ability to leverage data and Gen AI to create new insights, both for their internal teams, but also for their external customers. The third part is a very hot topic right now within payments, which is B2B payments and embedded finance. How do you embed payments and other flows directly into the ISV software, as well as the marketplaces itself? So let's start on the first part, market expansion, right? So we're partnering with TSYS to really enable their modern issuing platform to expand to new markets. We are working closely with them to deliver value to their customers for things like their next generation analytics platform. We're also working with them and working in conjunction with the payment networks to establish ways to connect without having to use physical routers. Things like Visa Cloud Connect and MasterCard Cloud Edge that's backed by AWS Cloud Connectivity. The second part is definitely data and Gen AI. So really to harness the petabytes of payment transactional data, you really need to be able to leverage it and basically stream it into a transactional data lake. So leveraging cloud technology, payment customers can use open source file formats such as Parquet, as well as open source table formats such as Apache Iceberg, Apache Hudi, and Delta Lake. And with that kind of data governance and data lineage that sits on top of that, we want to be able to do responsible AI. So obviously, we're in a heavily regulated industry, and with experience of TSYS, Featurespace, and AWS, we are helping our customers really extract the most from their rich transactional data. The third part is definitely B2B payments, right? It's an incredible opportunity. It's going to drive a lot of innovation to create a consumer-grade experience that we love as part of the e-commerce checkout into the B2B world. So we're excited to really help capture these B2B flows and create workflows in the cloud to deliver TSYS and Featurespace and other payment customers' value-added services to our most important enterprise and business clients.
Thanks for that. Kelley, if we shift to the cloud journey, what are the benefits that you've been able to realize for TSYS clients and for TSYS?
Yeah, I think first of all, we'll start with our clients. Our clients are constantly looking to us to innovate, help them drive revenue faster, and to bring third parties into the ecosystem that help them differentiate some of their products and services. So for us, we always start with our clients. Interesting enough though, our clients probably fall into three categories. Those that are cloud ready now or in the next 2 years. Those that have made some investments but still have a way to go with their own legacy infrastructure in that 3 to 5 year window. And then there are some institutions that are really a little bit further out in terms of 5+ years. So our key is trying to align our investment in our own modernization and cloud journey to time that closely with our existing clients, while at the same time looking at new opportunities and those entities that want cloud services now. And so the key is aligning with your clients, making sure you understand their time horizons, and then if you're a market leader like us, we want to be ahead of that, both from a competitive point of view, but also bringing confidence to our existing client base.
Can you tell a little bit about where TSYS started in their cloud journey and why?
Yeah, I think like everyone, we started a while back. We underestimated how long, how much it would cost, and the complexities of the execution of different stages of the cloud journey. And that's where we leaned on AWS quite heavily, as well as a number of partners that we actually didn't know about before we started our journey. While we have very capable resources and insights on the industry, not a lot of people have taken the journey from big legacy, high volume capacity infrastructures and move applications into the cloud. And so for us, it was trying to find that mix of internal resources with external experts who could help us accelerate that. And we feel we're in a really good place. We're doing a number of pilots and tests right now, and we'll be selling exclusively in the cloud really by the end of next year.
Yeah, and I can share with the Featurespace cloud journey, we really benefited in a couple areas. The first, obviously, being a newer player in the space, it helped really establish our brand, establish, our PCI and SOC compliance. It was a way in which we could also rapidly experiment. So recently we participated in a network level proof of concept with PayUK. And what we were able to do was take our machine learning, our AI models, and rapidly experiment on that network level data with AWS. We've also leveraged their partnerships with NVIDIA, as well as their LLM capability. We're working on an AI assistant that will help risk analysts that use our solution to write rules or tune fraud strategies based on those large language models. So I can share there's a lot of benefits.
Yeah, I want to add to that, Carolyn, because you bring up
Sure.
a good point. The reason customers are coming to the cloud is really to leverage the latest and greatest technology. Historically, if you think like fraud prevention, it used to be rule-based, right? You create hundreds of rules, and the false positive rate is about 20 to 1 or 15 to 1 on average, which means you're declining 20 transactions to catch one fraud transaction. That's a really bad customer experience.
Yep.
So what Featurespace is doing is really innovating the cloud, working with partners like TSYS and NVIDIA and AWS to really leverage the power of GPUs to do parallel processing and to increase fraud detection rate. In fact, and just correct me, make sure I'm saying it correctly, they were able to show that they were able to increase fraud detection by 13%. at the kind of transaction volumes that payment customers globally do, that's very material benefits, not only for the consumer, but also for businesses as well.
Yeah, it was actually more than 50%,
Okay.
and it was 30% initially,
Right.
but until we were able to apply our generative AI to it, which we couldn't have done without that, we were then able to prove we could catch actually over 50%
Okay.
of the fraud on that network level data set. So, okay, so shift gears a little bit, Paul. Maybe you can share with us some of the major barriers that you're seeing that stall cloud migrations.
Yeah, I think the main thing is it's really a mindset shift, right? To really adapt their skills in the cloud, right? There's a level of time to upskill to learn cloud technology, but AWS helps customers by having different AWS learning courses. There's system integrators and other education services that help you upskill to learn cloud technology. But once you do that and break your monolith into microservices and be able to create them as components, it really generates new value-added services for you as a company and time to value. And so one of the biggest challenges I say was to upskill your incredible payment talent that you have at each of your companies, enabling them to leverage cloud technology. The second is really building out the foundational services, right? There's key foundational services you need to power payments. That includes an API gateway, that includes a Kafka data streaming, that includes like a good security overall framework. And they need to upskill some of their current ways of doing things on premises, and then bring that into the mental model of how to run that in cloud. And we help them, we work with partners to enable our customers to really learn how to do that the way they do it on-prem in the cloud.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're seeing at this point, over 80% of our customer base is in the cloud, but I think there's a couple different dependencies. One is the risk appetite of the organization. The second is, some of the investment that's required. And the third is, I think, also the appetite to work with partners, frankly. So we work with a lot of issuer processors, and integrating into the auth stream is a really scary proposition. And working with AWS and partners like TSYS, and you really TSYS really pioneered in this space. That's, I think, where we start to see some of the acceleration to the cloud. Okay, so Kelley, as you reflect on TSYS' cloud journey, what do you wish you would have done differently?
Probably started it sooner, and probably did a little more upfront work, really understanding where our clients truly were. I think a lot of people have ambitions in terms of what they can do, how long it's going to take them to restructure their ecosystem and infrastructure in particular. A lot of on-premise hardware providers, a lot of our clients and banks have long-term agreements with them for a reason. And so it's not just about can you execute and get to the cloud. It really is how you manage that bubble cost and that overlay of the investment you're making in the cloud with existing contractual obligations you might have on-prem, and then really filtering out what services you're going to prioritize to move into the cloud first. And for us, based on what our banks were doing and what a lot of our prospects were talking about, it really was focused on that digital enablement, some of our risk and fraud solutions, and really saving some of the heavier lifting around the core processing and settlement services for later, and being comfortable living in a hybrid mode, not so much because we wanted to, but that's just the reality of the market. And so really understanding how far along your clients are is really key to whatever journey you're going to be on. Because if you get too far ahead of them, made that investment, you're still processing on-prem and don't have enough volume in the cloud, you're going to be challenged from an overall business case point of view. So I'd spend a lot more time really understanding your customers or your partners and where they sit on their own journey and how that's going to impact your timeline.
How much of it was with your clients versus internal even?
Yeah, I think we started out with the vision, and like everyone else, we changed gears at least 4 or 5 times. Part of that is we went down a couple dark alleys because we just didn't know. And part of this is, quite honestly, learning on the job. No matter how much you plan, no matter how coordinated you are, no matter what your infrastructure architecture looks like, you're going to make some mistakes. And the key really is, have you gone too far, and do you have to take multiple steps back, or do you take steps to the side? So upfront planning around architecture, how you mobilize your teams, the mix of resources on the teams, and ensuring this is an enterprise-wide solution between technology, between product, and the business to align that strategy overall is really fundamental. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about the technology, it's about your processes, methodologies, the steps that are exceptions to the process, and how you manage that collectively.
Yeah, I think at Featurespace, obviously, we're not at the scale yet of TSYS, but I think as a younger fintech, we had a couple lessons learned. One, when we initially started working with AWS, the relationship was really buried in our engineering and tech teams, and I think it took us a while to really learn how to lead in with some of the capabilities, and we're still learning it. With that AWS offers to their clients, which are really powerful when you're trying to get your brand out there and especially enter into a new market. I think the second thing was then prioritizing. We know as a younger company, you're constantly stretched for resource, really focusing and on what those benefits are so you can realize them as you grow and scale the company. Any observations you'd have, Paul, on kind of barriers you're seeing?
To the cloud, right?
Hello?
Try it again.
Coming hand on the mic.
So I think a key point our customers say is, how do they bring the data from on-premises to the cloud and still meet regulators' needs, right? So we do have an entire compliance team that's here to help you out. So feel free to reach out to your account managers and your points of contact to really understand how to do that effectively and still meet the regulators' need, right? Part of the success of partnering with TSYS and Featurespace is their experience working in the financial services, right? We have a lot of restrictions, but when we can showcase to the regulators that this is, meeting their requirements and it's a very safe and secure way, they're very open to it. So it's an evolution, right? It's to work together. So I think really partnership like this, understanding the financial services world and understanding what the regulators need will help us move at the pace that we need to really evolve the industry and really pioneer the future of payments.
Perfect. Okay, we'll wrap up here shortly. This is kind of a fun question. I'll start with you, Kelley. Do you ever reach a final destination in the journey to the cloud?
It is such.
Oh, there we go.
Back. Oh, okay. Which mic? Two mics. I think the journey is never over. And here again, you have to remember, it's not so much about the cloud, but it's about how you apply your business practices and how you apply your products for your clients in the cloud. And I don't think that will ever change. I think for us, it is going to be a journey that we're going to continue to invest in. We've invested enormous amounts so far. And I think what we need to do now is continue to expand that. It's about speed to market around more and more products and more partners to the ecosystem. And it's giving us the opportunity that in the past, we'd have to stand up a data center in a certain geography, invest huge amount of capital up front to move into those markets. So our aperture in terms of regional growth has changed dramatically thanks to the way AWS is configured and things we're able to do both on the product side but the core processing side. So moving into Spain and Germany a little bit more aggressively than we already have been, extending our reach in Brazil, investing more in Mexico, a big investment made in India. There's no way, even 5 years ago, we would have been able to run in parallel in multiple geographies with some of the success that we've seen so far. And so I think that's given us a lot of confidence that we can bring these services to market faster and do it in multiple geographies simultaneously.
How about you, Paul?
Yeah, the only thing I like to add is like, we live in a world where there's now regulatory requirements for data localization and local processing. And how do you still innovate in a world where there's heavily regulated even than before? So we help customers be able to expand to new markets, get time to value, but we also do it in a way that we can show to the regulators that we're also keeping the security of the payment ecosystem healthy, right? There's a lot of bad actors, as we know. I think the stat is over 50% of people have received some kind of attempted phishing scam or scams in general. We live in a world where it's very digitized, but that also brings its own set of problems. So how do we all work together in the ecosystem to make it better?
Yeah, I also don't think the journey ever ends to some extent. I think for a couple reasons. One, especially as a smaller emerging fintech, we really leverage our cloud partner to help us form, and adopt new technologies that we just don't have the scale for. And I think second, leveraging frankly the distribution capabilities of both AWS and TSYS. That's something we're constantly, working on together. So
it's very exciting times, right? We're constantly innovating to meet new changes in the world, right? With Gen AI, the world has completely changed. The pace of innovation has increased fivefold. But it's exciting. That's why everyone's here. I can feel the excitement in Money 2020. And it's really looking forward to innovation together.
And I think the biggest dilemma we all face now is how are you going to invest in the cloud and Gen AI at the same time? And the honest answer is you need to figure it out and figure it out reasonably quickly, not only from a growth and expansion point of view, but from a defensive point of view. Because I think the expectations of the clients, the end consumer are significant now. And so collectively and individually, we each need to figure out how we can get there and make the right investments in the areas that it counts the most.
All right, well, thank you both for sharing your insights today, and hopefully all of you enjoyed the conversation. Thank you also for your continued partnership as we grow and serve the financial services industry.
And future discounts, hopefully.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thanks everyone.